Namaskar. Hello and welcome to P Guru's channel. Apologies for the slight delay in start. We are going to be going into a lot of areas in the world where things are happening, and we have coined a new phrase: Israel's Project Palestine. What is happening? What's happening in every country's inner decision-making organization? How things are being pulled and pushed? All this and more. Before that, please like this video. If you're not subscribed to our channel, do subscribe to our channel. We are the lone voice trying to project an independent path, not leaning to one direction or the other. Now let's welcome the guest of the day, Sridhar Chityala ji. Sridhar ji, namaskar and welcome to P Guru's channel. How are you, sir?
Namaskar and good evening to everybody. Good morning to you, Sri. Very happy to be here on the Saturday.
And apologies, guys. This is not the right overlay. So I'm going to go without the overlay today. So Sridhar ji, let us start with what is happening in Israel. This is now becoming more and more critical as Benjamin Netanyahu is digging in and he is working on what I would call as Project Palestine. Remember, guys, we were one of the first to define Sahel as a region where there are going to be conflict two and a half years ago. Sridhar ji has come up with the phrase Project Palestine. Take it away, sir.
Yes, I think that what is at work is Project Palestine. So, in other words, that when you look at the broad agenda, that seems to be the motive. And so, what's happening with Mr. Netanyahu? You have Mr. Netanyahu saying that I'm not interested in a two-state solution. And then you have Biden saying, I've spoken with Mr. Netanyahu, and, and Benjamin Netanyahu is not averse to a two-state solution. Having said that, Mr. Biden is going to speak with a number of Middle East leaders and say, hey, we are working towards a two-state solution. We are working towards a two-state solution. We need you, at the table. And then you have Mr. Antony Blinken saying that the war will soon come to an end, and then we need to think about how we move towards a two-state solution. So somebody has triggered this thought process into Iran, and if you kind of look at in a map, then you see that how coordinated as well as very concerted the efforts have been, right from Persian Gulf spreading to Red Sea on the ocean. But also in the land, you have Iraq, you have Lebanon, you have Syria, and then you have even, around Jordan, and then you have, of course, Gaza is the epicenter. The whole objective of Iran, Hamas, Hezbollah agenda, in concert with their allies, both domestic and overseas, international. If you look at the types of protests that are going on in Europe, the type of protests that's going on within United States and other parts of the world, it seems like, outside in, inside out type of an approach. The objective is not launch a full-scale war, but to create enough distractions, enough disruptions, create economic blockade, and in the process, force the world. Already people within EU, which is very much a woke kind of environment currently in EU, you saw what happened to the African Union. Over almost 100% of the African Union states, supporting in United States a resolution to condemn Israel and, as a genocide, which was rejected by the Western nations. So when you look at this and when you put these things together, what is at work is there seems to be an inevitable course, which we'll touch on when we come to the President Trump section, that this is the do or die battle in 2024. And this is the moment of hurrah to achieve what they have not been able to achieve, which is forming somehow a Palestinian or a two-state solution and Israel is not buying into it.
They've tried that. For 16 years, Hamas was funded. And what did they use that money for? That is the question. And I think nobody wants to answer this. Everybody is just at the surface, not going in depth into the problem. And I think now many of the Hamas leaders are walking about afraid. Sridharji, I'm also hearing that one specific building was taken out because an IRGC commander was housed in that. We'll come to that in just a moment, viewers. I hope you have liked this video as we go to the next slide here. So Red Sea attacks are now beginning to go on the other side, meaning at the mouth near Mediterranean. and as well as towards the outside on the other side, where now we are hearing Ethiopia and Somalia are looking at each other, and conflict going on there also. Sir, what is going on? Both these are very poor nations, Somalia or Ethiopia.
There is a piece of land. Unfortunately, we are not showing the picture to you, which we'll probably show in the next episode. Just to recap, it's called Somaliland. The Somaliland was is right at the cusp of the Gulf of Aden, which is the tip of the Indian Ocean. We kind of imagine a map right across this Somali Ethiopian border. You have on the other side of the horn is you have Yemen. Okay, so you have the intersection of Gulf of Hormuz and then the Indian Ocean, which is a good part of it is what we call is defined as a Red Sea, which is the navigation gateway for the most important commercial ships that are plying through and serving the world. So what's happened? There was a deal done between Ethiopia and the Somaliland. Somaliland became what was a quasi British colony, became self independent. Then it joined with Somali. They were not satisfied, Somalia, and they kind of broke away. So this is called as the Somaliland. And they did a deal with Ethiopia. Ethiopia is landlocked and they want an access to the sea. So they've done a deal with the Somaliland and Ethiopia have done a deal where they will build a port and security infrastructure and bring investment into the Somaliland, which is starved. So Somalians are now saying we will have nothing of it. We have gone to war with Ethiopia twice on the same issue. We will go to war, and the part of the land that you are giving as a port is disputed by us, notwithstanding the fact we have given this independence or autonomy to Somaliland. So how come this has happened all of a sudden? Somalia is, as you probably know, is Islamic. Al-Shabaab, which is an outfit of Al-Qaeda, is very active in that region. So when you put two and two things together, you can draw your own conclusions. How all of a sudden, in the middle of this Red Sea chaos, now another nation has jumped into the fray. So this is the project Palestine at work, where you have all the important, what you call as the junction points or function points, which are navigational gateways in terms of the important routes for trade, are getting jammed with militancy and type of attacks that we are seeing right now, Sriji.
Now let's play this thing out, Sridharji. And I don't know how many of our viewers know. I for the first time I'm hearing about Somaliland, sir. So thanks for that. Viewers, see, there are two ways in which oil from Middle East can come out. One is the Hormuz Strait, and the other one is on the Red Sea. Now it turns out there's only one country, as long as one of these two is secure, that can continue to ship its oil out, and that is Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Many of you may not know this, but they've actually dug a canal right across the land. So see, because the oil fields are near where all the other countries such as Dubai and other countries are, and they can actually get their oil out through the Red Sea, but they'll have to secure Red Sea at least. Sridharji, this is something that they did a few years ago, isn't it?
It is, and I think that given the bottlenecks that they have, apologies, we haven't put the map, but when you see the map, there's even discussions whether there should be, which is a very easy navigation point if you kind of dig a deep, cable or a conduit, you can come across and get across to India fairly quickly. You can bypass the Yemen issue and you can bypass, but that corridor has been not been developed. There's been discussions. This is the reason why India has been consistently trying to get Iran to the table and build the what they call as the northern corridor, which will take considerable amount of trade through Iran and Russia, through Central Asia into other parts of the world, but also provide a conduit into the Middle East. But as you correctly point out, that this has not kind of evolved as yet, but it may be a solution that is forthcoming given the strategic need of India in terms of its energy, Sriji.
Now, sir, President Biden has said that the attacks on Houthis is not working. Is it because the United States is too soft? They have actually picked out 60 or 70 targets. Now, Houthis are saying many are just not up, they're completely abandoned. But this is standard operating procedure. Attack from someplace and go and hide behind civilian population.
Well, I think the what is at stake here is United States is considered or is the most advanced nation. Just look at the other side, Bahrain. Where the Seventh Fleet is, and sorry, it's where the yeah, I'm correct. This is where the Seventh Fleet is. Bahrain protects all the oil wells on the Saudi side. Okay, now there is sufficient amount of capabilities for United States to determine the locations within Yemen and locations within Iran, backed by also Israel's intelligence as to what is happening. Israel is picking up its targets and taking those targets out rather than going into a full-blown war. They're not doing anything to the Houthis because Houthis are not doing anything to the Israel as yet. But it is astonishing that the Western intelligence, even located within UAE, is unable to pick up these parts, which prompted Biden to say, hey, I don't think our attacks on Houthis are working. And he's contradicted almost immediately by his national security spokesperson, which is to say, no, we are taking out the radar sites one by one at a time. So, Sriji, it really is begs the question whether US is really taking, or they are just doing what we call cosmetic kind of attacks. With this, is United States also one of the key background players behind the Project Palestine? Because remember, Iran was brought into the discussions, which was abandoned by President Trump. The discussions which Mr. Obama initiated, and Biden kind of resumed the discussions. It went nowhere, and even the nuclear discussions are not going anywhere. And during the Obama period, also, Obama allowed Hamas to open an office in Qatar so that they can have a better liaison. Nothing has happened. Their kind of enthusiasm and energy to continue to create problems in the Gaza, as you can observe right now, and then so it begs the question, which is namely, is United States the key leader behind this Project Palestine, Sriji, which is the reason why we have all these kinds of troubles brewing, and there is no wholehearted effort to restore parity in Red Sea.
Viewers, look no further than one advisory firm called Macro Advisory Partners. I have told you about this firm. It is run by an Iranian American and a Pakistani American, and they have their people in the Biden administration. Bill Burns, CIA director, Jake Sullivan, and Victoria Newland. Look no further than this one group. And as much as I hate to point fingers at individuals, they have some explaining to do. And especially Jake Sullivan is a national security advisor. What is he saying? What is he doing? Which side is he representing? I mean, there is a United States side, and I still don't know the camps that are inside this administration, Sridharji, because I don't know which way Blinken is leaning. I really don't know. If you know something, please tell us, sir.
Well, it's very clear Blinken is leaning towards a two-state solution, and it's very clear based on all the efforts that he is pursuing. He's not worried about stopping the Gaza war. He says, let that go on. What's going to happen after that? We need a two-state solution. We need the Gaza to be under Palestinian Authority. We haven't covered Palestinian Authority in this whole thing. The Palestinian Authority is another big schmozzle. You can go back and look at right from the time of Mr. Yasser Arafat, what happened after his death, how much money that they have taken without any resolution. They have pushed a lot of the people into Jordan. Many of the Palestinians work within Israel. So who are these people when there is some semblance of kind of normalcy to continue to create, trouble? in my view, it's Iran and Iran's proxies who do not want peace. Even the West Asian Accord brought together various Arab nations except Iran, Lebanon, Syria, and Iraq into the equation, Sriji.
So that is greater Iran, we can just say, because it's basically that.
It is.
Now, sir, Iran versus Pakistan, there was this fire show back and forth going on. Looks like things are cooling down. What was the reason for that flare up, sir?
It's just basically to say, all the pundits kind of began to say, oh, there's kind of brewing. Something is nothing. It's just as simple. We don't even know, what this fire show was about. But when you take a look at the fire show, it just disappeared in 24 hours. But who are the big influencers and advocacy groups within United States? Those are the two nations which are big influencers within. So they just want to say, oh, two nuclear neighbors are going to be in confrontation. Let's kind of all sit down together and bring this to a closure. What is the problem? The problem is Palestine. Let's kind of immediately announce a ceasefire and two-state solution. Everybody calmness will be restored. No calmness will be restored. The Israel, Iran, that whole trapezium of countries, they will continue to fight until something dramatic happens, and Israel is not going to concede. Neither the two-state solution is going to be an outcome. So to conclude, this, I think, is just a sideshow. It died within 24 to 48 hours, Sriji.
Thank you so much, sir. And this is the map that we should have put up in the first place. I'm sorry, I apologize. Sridharji, if you want to, highlight some of the points here, you can see that Saudi Arabia, its oil fields are near where on the right-hand side, Abu Dhabi, Bahrain, and that Doha, that area. And they have a canal that comes right across that land and comes and joins these lands, these oil fields with the Red Sea. But they will still have to make sure that the port of the Red Sea, which is where Djibouti is, which the Chinese control. Look, we predicted all these things 2 years ago. It's too bad that all our predictions are coming true. Sridharji, what is this? You are becoming a soothsayer, a seer now. You're a seer, SEER.
Oh, I hope so. That was not the intent. But the story is, what's happening here is that I'm just trying to see in my own phone. Given my so what is happening here is when you get close to it's actually, you won't see it in this map, but somewhere adjacent to Djibouti, you have your Somaliland.
Yes.
That's a small area. So Ethiopia is struck a deal, which is to say we'll develop the port, because it's kind of the Somaliland, is neither independent, it has a parliament, it has got its own currency and all these kinds of things. But many nations have not put money, believing that unless African Union endorses and gives it and recognizes as part of the AU, they will not allow the trade to come, investments to come in. So they went to Ethiopians and said, okay, you need something, we need something, and they did the deal. The moment the deal was done, lo and behold, trouble starts. And why does it trouble start? You can see from the map where it is. It is at the very, very critical intersection point within that whole architecture as you come out, and it is an important navigation gateway, to go mainland into Africa. That particular Djibouti, that area is a very, very important trade point where you have all nations colluding. Mind you, Sudan is equally a flashpoint of trouble. Somalia is run by Islamists, where Al-Shabaab is very active. Ethiopia and where is the Somaliland, they have been trying to run a very moderate and very kind of proactive administration within the small terrain, relatively devoid of trouble. But wherever there is no trouble, they want to instigate trouble, Sriji. So this is the kind of economic stranglehold, and as well as economic instability that they want to create adjacent to the other place, Sriji, which is the Ukraine war that is going on.
Yeah, viewers, we have three important things to talk about. The second one is about a possible Trump presidency. And the third one is about India and WEF Davos. It's a very important section that will be coming right after this one. Sridharji, Trump's presidency, these people, sir, why is it that any case that they are putting up against Trump, they don't seem to have a proper public prosecutor? They don't seem to have people with clean, unblemished records. Everywhere there is one hole or the other, and yet somehow they are brazenly trying to write these things out. Whether you take Georgia, whether you take New York cases, and they've just essentially just piled on a bunch of cases on Trump. What really is the end result of this, sir? Democrats are looking really bad in this whole thing.
Well, I think that there are multiple points that one can. January 6th was their first attempt to hang him high. That failed. Their inquiry proved conclusive. Then they lost. They filed a whole bunch of cases that went nowhere. This has been going. They said, going back to 2016, that's where it started. They said Russian interference. That investigation went on for 4 years, and by the time presidency of the Trump, ran out. And then after that, they started this January 6th insurrection. That went nowhere. Then you have all these cases because you have a big advocacy groups. We have already covered that in length as to how much of money Trides Foundation is only one. There's $22 million. There's a lot of other advocacy groups because Trump stood for stability and he was fearless in terms of taking on many of these nations, including NATO. So Trump is most feared. So therefore, there's a whole group, as Sriji pointed out. For example, if you take a look at the Georgia prosecutor, there's a big scandal that is brewing out, and the lady is going. The attorney general could be saying, I'm probably guilty. So, but notwithstanding all this, they are pushing their barrel. Now, why the crescendo is growing? We will show in the next page. President Trump is leading within the Republican Party by more than 60%. 60%. It is believed that DeSantis may actually also withdraw once New Hampshire goes to President Trump. When that happens, when you add his votes, it could be somewhere close to 70 to 80% of the votes within the Republican Party favoring Trump, which will force Nikki Haley to quit. So therefore, now what does the people do? File more cases, use every avenue that is possible to throttle him, Sriji. This is the upshot.
By the way, viewers, Trump has made a statement. These are all some of the polls that says that Trump is ahead in 5 of 6 swing states. Nevada plus 10, Georgia plus 6, Arizona plus 5, Michigan plus 5. What does this number mean, sir? Plus 10 plus...
Oh, he's got a 49 to 43. It's a 6% lead in number of votes based on the research. He's got 5% lead in Arizona. He's got a 5% lead in Michigan in the initial pollings, in the sample pollings that they have conducted. The only state where still Biden is leading is Wisconsin, and even in Pennsylvania, he's got a 4% lead. Remember, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, all the 3 states went to Biden, which tilted the electoral college, which tilted the votes in favor of President Biden over President Trump. The same 3 states which President Trump carried in 2016. So the battleground states are very critical and very important in assessing the mood of the people right now. The mood of the people right now, this was also reaffirmed by none other than Mr. Jamie Dimon, which is to say the MAGA has been misinterpreted, but there is considerable frustration across the country in terms of the present administration, the path that it is pursuing, Sriji.
Sir, there have also been talks about Democrats actually showing up for Republican primaries and voting for Nikki Haley. This is an allegation that Trump made. Now, why would the Democrats want Nikki Haley to be the candidate on the Republican side? And why do they want to suddenly now switch to Republican? There's nothing wrong in doing that. But is there an agenda behind this, sir?
The agenda is stop Trump. That's the agenda. Stop Trump any cost. At any cost, stop Trump. That's been the Democrats, especially the progressives' agenda. I've said right from there is an invisible hand. The question is the invisible hand Mr. President Obama? Because it was during President Obama's watch when President Trump announced and was contesting, there was a whole plethora of issue of surveillance, his phones, so a number of things that happened leading up to that specific election. So who is the person? This is clearly not Mr. Biden. Mr. Biden is incognito. So there's some invisible hand which is playing out which is playing out these issues to see whichever way we can to stall Trump.
Sir, Nikki Haley doesn't even come in the same ground to play this match, sir. I mean, she is, at least Vivek Ramaswamy stood for something. You may like what he said, he may not like what he said. He said meritocracy is what made this country great, and that's what I'm sticking with. What does Nikki Haley have to say for herself? What is it that she's so unique? Why should people even be voting? My prediction, Sridharji, is after this primaries, she'll be a nobody. I don't think Trump is going to accommodate her in any of his administration posts. DeSantis may, Vivek will, I think. And anyway, these things seem very, very counterproductive. And anyway, that's just my 2 cents, sir. You can weigh in and we can go to the next slide. We have a few more things to cover today.
Very, very simple. Haley is the establishment candidate. There's always rhinos within the Republican Party. So therefore, that's all. That's the kind of Nikki Haley is no candidate. She's just as part of establishment. Former South Carolina governor. She was UN ambassador, and she has played a number of administrative roles. She has ambitions. She had ambitions even in the last elections. So I think that once the New Haven primary is done, I think she will still go through she'll probably one of only 2 candidates, one candidate if not left in the phrase, Regi. It'll be Trump versus Haley, and DeSantis will quit. Already, Tim Cotton has quit. S.A. Hutchinson has quit. And Vivek Ramaswamy has quit. Most of them have put their vote behind President Trump.
So we'll see how this thing is going to play out. Now let's take a look at what is happening in the Russia-Ukraine war. Do you think Trump, if he becomes president, will find a way to stop the Ukraine war, sir?
He will stop funding. Very clear. He'll stop funding. That's enough.
And the southern border challenges, this is where you call the elephant putting mud on its own head. This is what exactly Mr. Biden and his administration has done. They made a scapegoat out of Kamala Harris. Poor lady, I don't know where she is. And they said she will be the czar controlling the southern border, and then it became much worse. She never wanted to go there. All sorts of things have happened. And in all these things, we don't even know who was running the Biden administration. How is it that the Democrats are still brazenly riding it out? Sir, I remember, Sridharji, that, Clinton was accused of smoking cannabis. And that was, when the 1992 primaries were going on, and that was such a big hullabaloo. Now, these guys are doing outrageous stuff, and no media is asking any questions.
Media is in cohorts globally, with the progressives and left-wing wokeism. So therefore, you're not going to get anything from the media on this matter. As far as this, the reason why we put this up is Biden says there's a challenge. On the contrary, he goes on to say, oh, it's not my policy. It's just a problem that has existed. And a president saying this, and then simultaneously his party negotiating for a 5,000 illegals to make their way every day and to be granted temporary work permit. Not the people who are waiting for their H-1B visas are converting from H-1B to green cards, but 5,000 illegals to come into the country and be given temporary work permits. How do you read this, Regi?
Sir, these people are somehow dreaming that they can bring low-cost labor force and then make America a manufacturing hub again. Unfortunately, these people don't have the skill set. You have to have a certain professionalism if you want to be working in America. There is a bottom line requirement. You have to understand the law of the land still prevails. You will have the odd incident here or there, but that basis is not there. How are you going to be able to get them into the workforce? This is exploitation, in my opinion, of people who don't even understand what they are getting into. But at the same time, also this is going to hurt the very segment that is voting solidly Democrats, are the progressives, these black Americans who think that there is something that these guys have a pot of gold to distribute to them. Witness what happened in your city yesterday, sir, New York City. A black driver, her name is Sahara something, I don't remember the last name. There is a black New York City policeman. She tries to run him over. The man has suffered a broken leg, and that he escaped only because he jumped. And she says, I'm going to teach you a lesson. Bullshit lesson you are going to teach. And then look at the way they have charged her. Not for manslaughter. What is going on in your state, sir? California is in the dumps. I agree. This race to the bottom, New York and California, what's going on?
Well, I think that there is a, as you correctly pointed out, race to the bottom. Who is the leader in the worst thing in the league tables? So New York has been a problem of law and order going back until, as you probably know, Manhattan, until Rudy Giuliani as mayor stepped in and brought about some order. He has got his own challenges now. That's a different story. But that was the time when many things were brought under control. We had some sensibility and normalcy. What we are witnessing, we are going back to those dark days. Two things: saturation of the city with illegals, the COVID blackouts, the COVID kind of restrictions brought a whole bunch of homeless and other types of people, which you probably normally see in places like San Francisco and so on. It came main street into Manhattan, even proximus to places like United Nations headquarters in Midtown. So what we are witnessing is a kind of a complete breakout emerging from that. We also had a lot of illegals who came in, and a lot of even legal through family reunion program who have come in. Many of them are underskilled, and they have become part of the potpourri in terms of the problems that Manhattan is facing, Sriji.
Very, very unfortunate, sir. And see, now let us take a look at the national debt of United States, 34 trillion. Viewers, I don't know how well you are able to read it, but Sridhar ji can talk to this slide, sir. Over to you.
Well, the debt is going to cross 34 trillion, 34.05 trillion, roughly the number when they said they will keep the debt limit at, but we just crossed 34 trillion, and there's a deal that is going on. But just to put in context, the 34 trillion debt is greater than, if you take a look at the world's top 6 economies. If you take the top 5 economies, second to 6 economies, number 2 to number 6, which is China, Germany, Japan, India, and UK, their combined GDP is still less than $34 trillion. Just combined GDP is less than the debt of United States. This has been flagged even at Davos. Just to put in context, roughly it is now the interest expense is 18% of the US federal budget. During the Trump period, there was, until the debt was to some extent managed, the servicing costs were somewhere around 2 to 2.5% of the GDP, is now going to go past 4% very soon if one forecasts it out. That's a very significant cost. Budget 18%. This is an economic disaster for the world because US writes a large amount of debt which is purchased by many countries to do business with United States. So it's a very significant blow in the balance sheet of the US government, and everybody is flagging this. And there's a significant consequence to the world economies which are intertwined with the US economy, and they need to calibrate the interest rates as a result of this, Sriji.
Thank you, sir. And this is a one picture says 1,000 words. Viewers, 259,000 debt per household, or per individual, it's 101,000. Sridhar ji, you and I, we pay all our credit card bills. We are zero, debt. We have zero debt. Many of us have actually paid down our house. We are in our, golden years now. Sir, why are we being punished thus?
Yes, you earn, you pay. You earn, you pay because you deserve to pay for those who deserve to benefit. This is the motto of the progressives. We are somehow handicapped. We have not been given the same privileges, so we should be given our kind of due share. And you earn, and we are underprivileged, you pay us. So this is Biden's administration. You earn, we tax, and we spend. And whereas it's not about you tax and you invest to grow the economy, you tax so that you can continue to people, fund the people who are coming into the country as illegals. Just remember, guys, illegals coming into the country have aid. Illegals coming into the country have Medicare. Illegals coming into the country have spending money. Illegals coming into the country can occupy spaces. Illegals coming into the country can do anything scotch free, and they don't seem to get the same type of punishment. Illegals robbing stores below $1,000, no action. This is the state of United States.
Viewers, I don't know how many of you have seen this video. There's a liquor store somewhere in the Sacramento area run by two Sardarjis. Okay. So one guy comes, is a routine stick-up guy. He comes in, he tries to start stealing from the cupboard shelves. And they talk to him, try to reason with him, saying that you shouldn't do this. And he doesn't listen. And he is filling up bags. And then one of the employees or the owners, I don't know what it is, he goes out and gets a stick. He gets and starts going after him, banging him, beating him up. This guy starts screaming bloody murder. But guess what? The police want to talk to the store owners. What nonsense is this? This is a habitual offender who thinks that it is his right to come and steal from the store shelves. This is what US has come down to. Many people have actually come in from Kenya, Indian Americans, thanks to Idi Amin and his rotten agenda, from Uganda, Kenya. Many have actually pulled out their roots from there, invested their savings, and they are dotted across US. They work very hard, and many of them also are small store owners. It is just beyond me, sir. This whole thing that is going on, I don't know when it's going to stop. I hope, but it can't stop soon enough, in my opinion. So now let us take a look at India and the focus on India at World Economic Forum Davos. Over to you, sir.
Well, I think that the focus was, is it India's moment to seize? Clearly, I think because the world is littered with turmoil. We have already covered the economic GDP growth factors of major economies. We have also covered the debt issues. We have also covered structural issues. You have seen what's happening in China. Chinese GDP has contracted, if you have to believe those numbers. So what is the big gorilla in the room? The big gorilla in the room is India. So India has got a number of things, going for it, and it has been reasonably well managed. So there was this ministers at the Davos making in conjunction with the industry to say, yes, this is India's moment, and we are going to seize it. We have demonstrated FY22, FY23, FY24. We navigated COVID. There are a number of things that we have done which is working. Firstly, we have tried to streamline the bureaucracy. We have got investments flowing into the country. We have already given the numbers. We have got the highest banking accounts and financial inclusion program, through we have 540 million Aadhaar linked accounts. They all can transact using the UPI payment tools. We have got manufacturing revitalized and growing through PLI programs. We got momentum in our consumer economy because we have been able to keep inflation within reasonable levels, as well as the interest rates at reasonable levels, allowing industry to function. Exports momentum has grown. We got agricultural sector revitalized. We are trying to do the climate agenda with this. We are the leaders in the Global Solar Alliance Forum. So I think we also have political stability. We conduct elections despite the chaos. So we are here to deliver a key message. And I think the world is listening. I don't know whether it was the CEO of Coke, or few companies which stood up from United States and stood and basically said, we agree and we endorse, and we are putting more money and expanding our programs within India. So there's a very big message coming out for India, as a plus plus or a rah rah, Sriji.
And viewers, this may come as a surprise to you, but Mauritius has a declared 22nd January as a national holiday. Central government offices are going to be closed for half day, and I think Uttar Pradesh also has declared a state holiday that day. And the importance of Ram Mandir Pran Pratishtha cannot be understated. And Mauritius also is going through a conversion. What should I say? Is a frenzy. And it used to be a solid Hindu country. It's no longer the case. And same kind of problems that you are seeing in Sri Lanka are also happening in Mauritius. However, the dispensation appears to be very Hindu, pro India. Sir, talk to us a little bit about the significance of this visit, meeting between Jaishankar and the MEA of Mauritius.
The meeting is very significant. It seems to be on cordial lines. What exactly they discussed? Basically saying, let's kind of set aside the political rhetoric. If there's a temporary setback, there's a temporary setback. India is well positioned. It's not going to be carte blanche China. That seems to be the discussion between MEA, the Minister of External Affairs for India, and his counterpart of Mauritius. The fact that the discussion has taken place is very important, because the president has not spoken with the Prime Minister of India. So therefore, it is in that context. I think it's very important. And it was in the so-called non-aligned, as part of the foreign minister's non-aligned. I don't know the relevance of non-aligned, Sriji. Everything is aligned in this world, but there is this big non-aligned meet with 77 countries in non-aligned meeting in Uganda, Sriji, of all the places.
Wonderful, sir. And now let's take a look at some things that is happening in EU. We know that EU is woke. We know how they got bribed to essentially give Qatar clean bill of health, as far as how 6,000 people died while building up this World Cup soccer city. And sir, who cares what EU says, sir? EU Parliament is a toothless, I don't know, it's not even a tiger, it's a cat.
Project Palestine, Sriji. Project Palestine is part of the Project Palestine. Is it Joseph Borrell? It seems to be the case. He says that Israel was funding Hamas to weaken PLA. So they ask the question, where is the proof? There's no proof. So you make a statement. This is the gentleman who is tasked by the EU to come up with a 10-point plan to restore. What have been they doing for the past 70 years? Nothing, right? So they're woke, and they have been anti-Israel for quite some time. Probably EU is responsible for the creation and problem of Israel itself, going back to World War II and post-World War II, Sriji. So therefore, but it's important to point out, who are all part of Project Palestine and what their attempts to do to undermine, Sriji.
Thank you so much, sir. And my apologies, viewers, for some of the typos here. It is Joseph, JOSEPH, and it's the NATO eastern border. Baltic states sign agreement to bolster NATO eastern border. Drone warfare is becoming the new weaponry in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Well, drones are cheap, for example, and they can create havoc. They are difficult to bring down, and whatever you use to bring it down costs 10 times, 100 times the cost. So this is going to be an ongoing challenge, not just in Ukraine, but perhaps in Israel also. Sir, Asia news. Japan, NATO open independent security line for sensitive communication. Unpack this a little bit for us, sir.
Well, what's happening is that there is a growing concern, and I think this is where the Trump agenda becomes very significant. His quad back will be back. Is China under threat because of President Trump? The answer is yes. So Japan is preparing itself for a deterrence, which is namely to say, is Biden distracted? Is Biden going to be helpful given what's going on in the Russia-Ukraine war, given what's going on in the Middle East war? There seems to be no leadership, no resolution. So we need to see who are our allies to defend ourselves. So this, what they're saying is, we have to create all lines within the whole construct of NATO and As you probably know, the old G7 Western countries, one can kind of intervene in conversations and communication. So what Japan and NATO are saying is, let us hope this is really going to materialize. Let's keep an independent and transparent communication line to keep our independent and transparent communication line, so that we can have security discussions in case we reach out to, we need your help, should there be some threats. That is what it's very important development within the context of what's going on right now, even in South China Sea, Sriji.
And viewers, will be touching upon the Ghost Armada in our next episode, because I see China, the way I see it, Sridharji, I could be horribly wrong about this. They are rocking the cradle and also pinching the baby. They are now issuing a warning to all parties to stay away from Red Sea. I find that ludicrous, sir.
Well, as I mentioned to you, Sriji, Project Palestine. Now you can put all the pieces together and to say, hey, all these countries are saying the world economic order is in trouble. Israel, you are the instigator of this. Okay, you now pull back. Let's have a ceasefire. Okay, this is the time to give independence and come up with a two-state solution. And Iran then says, thank you so much. Now we have full freedom to execute what we want to do. So I'm sure that there was a conversation that happened between even Mr. Blinken and Mr. Dr. Jaishankar to say, hey, please inform your good counterpart that we are working at it, and not to kind of to see what the response from his side is. He's not just kind of talking pleasantries, just when Dr. Jaishankar is going to go and meet with the Iranian foreign minister, Shriji. So this is Blinken's and United States and various kind of left-wing groups' broad agenda. And my view is, in some way, there is this strategic thinking behind all this, is possibly somewhere is Mr. Obama.
Yes, indeed. And we'll be following that very closely. Viewers, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We'll be back again Tuesday. Sridharji and I will be there at 6:30 p.m. If not, maybe a little bit later in case there is a challenge about timing. But we will be there. We'll be back on Tuesday. Again, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend and wonderful evening.